What began as a civil dispute over forged land documents has rapidly escalated. Grace, desperate to maintain her grip on Ada's inheritance, has orchestrated an active assassination plot. The trial is scheduled for that very afternoon, giving the team only a few hours to transport Samuel from his rural hiding spot into the city of Enugu. Because the court will not delay for a missing witness, any disruption on this specific road could effectively end Ada's claim before she even reaches the courtroom. Knowing exactly what Grace is capable of, Inspector Bello isn't taking any chances. He counters the physical threat by arranging a heavily armed escort, surrounding the witness with state police to guarantee safe passage. But halfway to the courthouse, gunfire erupts. A group of hitmen swarm the convoy on motorcycles, creating absolute chaos on the highway as officers scramble to return fire, protecting their target. The ambush fails by sheer luck. A bullet meant for Samuel strikes the metal of a police vehicle instead, leaving him completely unharmed. Because brute physical violence failed to eliminate the witness, the conflict is forced out of the shadows. The battleground now shifts to a highly publicized legal arena, a place where you cannot easily assassinate hard facts. By the time the convoy arrives, the state courthouse is surrounded. Villagers have traveled for hours, and television crews line the entrance, creating immense public pressure to see if this conspiracy will hold up under legal scrutiny. Inside, Samuel takes the stand. Having orchestrated the legal land purchase 18 years ago, he serves as the living memory of Ada's mother's intent. This chart maps out the exact timeline of the original transaction. You can see how Samuel and the prosecution trapped the defense by methodically stacking verified signatures on top of tracked bank payments, capped off by official government land surveys. This creates what the legal system calls an evidentiary burden. Once you establish a massive chronological volume of documented truth, the responsibility shifts entirely to the defense. They now have to actively disprove the paper trail. Grace's strategy relies on intimidation and a hastily constructed web of lies. But mathematically, a lie requires constant maintenance, and it simply collapses when forced to compete with a methodical presentation of hard facts. With the documentary foundation established, Samuel produces a piece of evidence he has kept secret for 18 years. He reveals a small cassette recording made on the very day the land documents were originally signed. The device contains a direct recording of Ada's mother. On the tape, she leaves explicit instructions that the land belongs to her daughter, providing the court with a primary source that bypasses nearly 2 decades of forged records. The sterile legal arguments stop completely. As the static clears, the mother's confident voice echoes through the courtroom, cutting right through the conspiracy and leaving everyone, even Ada's father, in tears. Panicking, Grace leaps to her feet. She objects wildly, screaming to the judge that the recording is a digitally edited fake. But this visualization shows the forensic audio wave analysis the prosecution immediately hands to the judge. You can clearly see how a spliced digital file creates a jagged, disjointed graph, whereas this tape produces a smooth, continuous analog sound wave, proving its authenticity beyond any doubt. You can bribe officials and forge documents, but you cannot argue with scientifically authenticated physical evidence. It completely strips a conspirator of their ability to manipulate the room. While the civil dispute over the inheritance is nearing a close, the atmosphere in the courtroom shifts instantly as a local mechanic interrupts the proceedings. His presence pivots the focus from land ownership to the violent highway events just hours prior. This link analysis graph maps out the exact connection the mechanic provides to the court. He traces the damage on a black pickup truck back to the highway ambush earlier that morning, and that line of evidence locks directly onto Grace, who paid for the repairs. Recognizing the mechanic, Inspector Bello steps right up to Grace. On the spot, he formally charges her with conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and attempted murder. Cornered, Grace violently overrules the order of the court. She flips a heavy wooden table, grabs the lawyer's briefcase, and sprints for the exit as the room explodes into chaos. Police scrambled to lock down the courthouse gates, but they are too slow. Grace slips out the doors and completely vanishes into the dense crowds outside. The methodical presentation of evidence did exactly what it was designed to do. It exposed the lies and legally secured Ada's inheritance. But by backing a desperate criminal into a corner without securing the exits, the legal system unleashed a highly dangerous, unresolved physical threat back into the streets.